Hey guys, 4 to 7 coming at you with our first ever IB chemistry testing tip. Now, normally on the IB chemistry exam, you don't have to worry about state symbols unless they ask you, and I'm going to go over a problem that requires you to write down the state symbol. Here's a problem from the November 16 exam. This is kind of a one-off problem. There's only 2 points involved with it. They give you a reaction that involves sodium thiosulfate reacting with hydrochloric acid, and they want you to tell you what that last reagent is. This guy right there. Now, to figure out what that reagent is, you kind of have to look at what's happening in the reaction. So this is a redox reaction, and it's kind of an interesting one because sulfur is actually getting both oxidized and reduced. This sulfur, if we calculate the oxidation number, what do you think the oxidation number of this sulfur is? Well, if the thiosulfate, if we write that out here, okay, if oxygen each is -2, that's 3 of them, that's -6, and the whole thing is -2, then the sulfur has to be +2. Okay, now if we look at the other side of the equation, this sulfur, it's by itself, so it's going to be 0. And then this sulfur, if it's up with 2 oxygens, each oxygen is -2, then we're going to make this sulfur, this is going to be +4. Okay, so you can see that sulfur is oxidized and reduced in this reaction. Now, in order to figure out what X is, you have to look at what's on the left side. All the elements on the left side, they've got to match up with all the elements on the right side. And if you look, we're only missing 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens. Okay. Now, because the oxidation and reduction has already happened with sulfur, we can assume that the hydrogen is going to stay in the +1 and the oxygen is going to stay in the -2. So therefore, that would make H2O a good candidate for this last compound. Okay. Now, it says you have to pay attention. Identify the formula and write down the state symbol. Okay, so we're going to do H2O. Okay. Now, also notice that this reaction is performed at room temperature. What is the state of H2O at room temperature? If you said liquid, you would be correct. Okay, remember, liquid is different than aqueous. Okay, you do not write aqueous when you're talking about water. Aqueous is only for dissolved solutes in a water solution. Okay. Now the next part is kind of it's kind of a silly little question, but it'll give you a point, and it's kind of a give me if you know what you need to put. Okay. So it says suggest why the experiment should be carried out in a fume hood or a well-ventilated area. Okay. The key is to know that SO2, okay, has a very strong smell. It's toxic, or you could also say that it's harmful. Okay, if you write down one of these 3 things, that's going to give you that point. Okay, hopefully you got something out of this, our first ever IB chemistry testing tip. Remember to subscribe below if you want extra help throughout your chemistry course.